Can we get Attorney Hennius to the front table, please? Attorney Hennius, front table. Time is now 5:30. I'm going to call to order the July 9th, 2024 meeting of the Warwick School Committee. At this time, I would ask that everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to now put the spotlight on Ms. Ruggieri for the employee spotlight.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the school committee. As I say every month, this is one of our favorite parts of the month, is to recognize our dedicated and hardworking staff as nominated by their peers. So without further ado, and if you are here tonight, I will ask you to stand so we can recognize you. So first, we have our very own Maggie Wallington in Human Resources. For support professionals, Allison Lambert, speech and language at Scott Elementary School. Greg Lynn, our lead computer technician. Administrator, Candace Calori at Tollgate High School. Teacher assistant, Linda Murray at Windman Middle School. Teacher, Melissa Colangelo at Lippett Elementary School. Custodial maintenance, Gail Schoeninger in the administration building. And middle management, Jen Evans in the special education department. I do just want to give one plug. Our nominations have dropped a little bit this spring, so I'm hoping in September we get back in full force and start nominating our peers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jerry. Before we move on from recognitions, I also want to take a moment to recognize Mr. Paul Heatherton, Ms. Patricia Cousineau, and Dr. Lisa Schultz. Because of their hard work, we were recipients of the expanded grant recipients money through Learn 365 RI. That totaled $332,065 for the Warwick School Department. So that's great money that's going to be put to great use, and nicely done to all of you on getting that grant for us. So nice job. All right, now for the fun. Looking for a motion to go into closed session for discussion and/or action regarding those items of business exempt from open meetings under General Laws of Rhode Island, RIGL 42-46-5, A1, A2, A4, A8, and A9.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Testa, seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're now in closed session. Time is now 7:03 p.m. I'm going to call to order the July 9th, 2024 regular school committee meeting in the City of Warwick. At this time, we'll return to open session. I'm looking for a motion to seal the minutes of executive session.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. All those in favor? Aye. There were no votes taken in executive session. At this time, we'll have public comment on agenda items. Individual comments will be respectfully limited to 3 minutes per person, with public comment not to exceed 45 minutes. Though the content of comments will not be restricted, it is the hope of this committee that citizens, committee members, and the administration alike will be respectful of each other's right to speak, tolerant of different points of view, and mindful of everyone's time. This public comment period is for agenda items only. A second public comment session is available later in the meeting for all other topics or concerns. Members of the public are permitted to speak during both public comment periods. Speakers are asked to state their name for their record.
Hi, I'm Darlene Netco, homeowner, taxpayer, lifelong resident of Warwick, graduate of Warwick Public Schools, English teacher of many, many, many years, and president of the Warwick Teachers Union. On the agenda tonight, you have the approval of money to pay for the installation of 2 kilns, one for vets and one for women. I'm hoping that, of course, you vote for that and we get these kilns installed as soon as possible so our students don't go another whole year without being able to do ceramics. I'm also hoping that even though these 2 kilns are only going in at the middle school, that you find a way for the high schools to be able to use them and the elementary schools. Many of our elementary art teachers have a very prolific and advanced curricula that they've been using with ceramics in the elementary level, and they would like to continue to do that. It came as a shock to all of our art teachers last year when the kiln use was curtailed and they couldn't use them. So let's get our art teachers back to where they want to and need to be, and it's what's best for the students. I also noticed that turnitin.com is up for your approval tonight. I don't have to tell you that with the proliferation of AI and the internet and so on and so forth, plagiarism has become a major issue. It has been a major issue for years and years and years. In the old days, though, you know, kids had to go to the library, check out a book, and scribe at least. And then a teacher had to go to the library and look at the book and say, yeah, look, you copied. Turnitin.com at least levels the playing field a little bit. I think it's working on trying to distinguish AI-generated content from student content or from content students just have copied and pasted from the internet. But we need to have this tool to be able to at least, you know, crack down on it a little bit, because kids aren't learning anything if they're just copying and pasting things from the internet. Thank you.
Good evening. Sean Rainey, Ward 1, student, alumni, parent, coach. Just hearing rumors about the new schools. A couple of them are the gyms are only going to be a capacity of 750 people. No turf fields, no lights. Plans. Where are the plans for these things? Do we have an original concept of the plans, and then what we've cut and what we are getting rid of? These things need to be open for public oversight. Are we just building these because we need them and will not include any of the state-of-the-art facilities we are promised? We are losing student athletes for lack of facilities, and this was one of the reasons for the new schools, although not the only reasons. We will continue to lose student athletes if we cannot provide the top facilities other district can. Hence why population of students is dropping. If these rumors are true, then the legacy of this committee will be marred by these decisions. We have to, if we're going to do it, we need to do this project correctly. We can't be cutting from, as a coach, my field is a classroom. I'm teaching the kids on the field stuff that they probably don't get in a classroom, but it's a different aspect of it. We need to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Not only to mention that is, I think one of your members also always says, "Oh, we can't raise revenue." Well, if you do these fields correctly, the revenue will come in just like Cranston does, Cranston Stadium, turf field, football stadium, soccer stadium, all of these things all in one. And they've replaced their artificial turf twice or 3 times in 20 years because of the revenue that they brought in, and they still have money left over. Cranston West, brand new football field. They didn't go sod, they went turf, they rented out. They have lights.
30 seconds.
We need to do this the correct way and don't just do it because the voters approved it. I stood up at the city council saying we needed this, and hopefully you guys will do the right thing and get everything that the students and the student athletes want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jennifer Hartel, Windman Middle School teacher. I'm reading this on behalf of a colleague who wasn't able to make it tonight. Hello, my apologies for missing this meeting. I am addressing the adoption of policies section of agenda item IKE, promotion and retention of students. I've been teaching at Windman Middle School for 27 years and have seen many changes in people, policies, curriculum, and behavioral expectations, both pre and post-pandemic. It has been most frustrating for me as a middle school teacher to see students pass from grade 6 to grade 7 to grade 8, having failed 2, 3, and 4 subjects. Many of those students are of the mindset, quote, "Who cares? I am going to pass to the next grade anyway. Nobody ever stays back," end quote. And students with that mindset in middle school are often the ones who are acting out or shutting down because 1, they truly do not care, or 2, they do not understand the material being taught and are frustrated since they have been repeatedly promoted to the next grade without prior mastery. I see it every year. I know there are differing opinions on retention at the middle level, and I understand each student should be examined individually to ensure students are properly placed academically, socially, and emotionally. In high school, promotion is cut and dry. If a student doesn't have 22 credits in May of their senior year, they simply do not graduate. Fortunately for high schoolers, credit recovery is offered during the summer to Tollgate and Pilgrim students as freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors if needed to make up classes in order to pass, and provided it is approved annually by the school department budget. Wouldn't it be wonderful if our Windman and Warwick Vets middle schoolers were offered a similar opportunity? The specific software program Warwick currently uses for the Tollgate and Pilgrim students has a middle school curriculum. If the district expanded credit recovery to middle school students who have not successfully passed their classes, perhaps we would see a behavior improve and absenteeism decrease with students feeling successful. Watch RICAS test scores continue to rise, and yearly promotions take place based on holding students accountable for passing classes rather than just passing students along. Please consider offering credit recovery at the middle school level so students learn the necessary skills to be successful in the next grade. Promotion should not be an assumption for students and their families. Credit recovery is a fair solution to the bad idea of passing students along each year, and it avoids that controversial word, retention. Also, if you have not yet seen Disney Pixar's Inside Out 2,
30 seconds.
Do yourself a favor and go see it. The 13-year-old main character, Riley, discovered new emotions while navigating a summer hockey camp before entering high school. She is the embodiment of a middle school teacher. Thank you for your time, Julie Connors Costello. And by the way, she asked me to read that because I echo that sentiment. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope Ms. Connors Costello feels better soon. Under routine matters, looking for a motion to adopt approval of minutes of public session, June 11, 2024. Made by Ms. Hazelwood.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Looking for a motion to approval of minutes of executive session, June 11, 2024.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve of transfers, July 9th, 2024.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. All those in favor?
Aye.
And approval of warrants, July 9th, 2024.
So moved.
Made by Ms. Hazelwood.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Ms. Ruggieri, would you please give us announcements, personnel as presented?
Absolutely, thank you. Good evening. Tonight I have 2 retirements for you that will require a vote. We say goodbye to Diane Maruschek, a science teacher at Veterans Middle School with 37 years experience with Warwick schools, and also Kathy Ann Ice, an occupational therapist who has been with us for 7 years.
Looking for a motion to approve the retirements and resignations.
Move approval.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We thank them for their service to the students of Warwick. I have some resignations that will also require a vote. Erica Vespia Cronin, elementary teacher at Warwick Neck. Jill Mancuso, health occupations program coordinator at the Career Center. Cheryl Del Santo, tech ed teacher at Pilgrim. And Elizabeth Charette, cybersecurity, IT, Cisco networking teacher at Career Center.
Looking for a motion to adopt those resignations.
Move approval.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We thank them for their service as well. One more requiring a vote, an unrestricted leave of absence for Tracy Sutherland. She is an MLL teacher with us, and she has taken an administrative position, and per state law, she's entitled to a leave of absence from her teaching position.
Looking for a motion to adopt the leave of absence.
Move approval.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And finally, as courtesy announcements, we have people to welcome to the district. First, we have Jade Giarusso as the health clerk, office support at Tollgate High School. Thomas Hertow, night custodian at Sherman Elementary. Tracy Sutherland, as I just mentioned, as the MLL coordinator with administration. Erica Winter, athletic trainer. Ariana Georgiou, the coordinator of math and technology. And I want to mention too, I know that the athletic trainers have been kind of a hot topic, so we have hired one and we're still waiting for an applicant for the second position. We still plan to fill that. So we welcome everyone to the district. Finally, I have one administrator to welcome who is here with us tonight, our new Sherman Elementary principal. Please welcome Maria San Martino Clinton. And also coaches as presented in your executive packet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jerry, and welcome to the district, Ms. Clinton. Wish you well over at Sherman. Now, donations and correspondences. We have one donation from Yamaha Motor Corporation USA, donating an engine for the students to work on, presumably over at the Career and Tech Center. Mr. McCaffrey, is that where that's headed? The engine is likely for over at the Career and Tech Center? Great. So we just want to say thank you on behalf of Warwick Public Schools to Yamaha Motor Corporation USA for their very kind donation. Section J, adoption of policies. As we've done in the past, if there's no objection from any member of this committee, given that these have already gone through the policy subcommittee and first read, I would be asking my colleagues if they're okay with us taking it as a packet. Of course, we can remove one and have a discussion or two if that's necessary. Any objections?
Nope.
Seeing none. Okay, so we're looking to, I'm looking for a motion to adopt in the second read HA, grouping for instruction, IIAA, textbook selection and adoption, IKE, promotion and retention of students, JE, student attendance, JEB, entrance age, JFC, student conduct, JFCC, student conduct on school buses, JFCH, tobacco, alcohol, and drug abuse by students, JFCN, prohibition against bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, intimidation, hazing, teen dating violence, and sexual violence. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Hazelwood,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Testa. Any comments?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Those policies pass in the second read. On to new business. First, presentation from Dr. Schultz and Ms. Cousineau. Discussion spring 2024 results.
All right, good evening, everyone. I will try to keep this brief but exciting for everyone because we're really excited. Right, Mrs. Cousineau?
Right, Dr.
Oh, yes. So we have a brief iReady update for you to see how our students are tracking at this point in the school year. And this is K-8 district-wide data. All right, one of the first things that you can see here, this is called a quadrant chart, obviously, because it's in quadrants. What we want to see is all of our blue dots, those represent all of our schools, elementary and middle. We want to see them in that upper echelon there, if that's the right word to use. Something along those lines, you understand. You don't want them below. So anything that's above that middle line there means that our schools are doing a really great job. They're either getting where we want them to be in that upper right quadrant of high performance and high growth, or low performance but high growth, because what really matters is the growth. Obviously, performance does matter, but we really want to see our kids growing and improving with every school year. And so every single one of our schools met the mark of growing at least 100%, which is what we want. Yes, thank you. And this is for reading. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to Windman Middle School, Lippett, and Norwood for having the highest growth and performance in the district. The top 3 blue dots are those 3 schools. Again, please note, Windman Middle School is in that quadrant, which is very rare for middle school. So shout out to Windman. Thank you for that. And Lippett. They went from bottom quadrant last year to the top. So major things happening at Lippett. All right, the next part will just kind of show you where we were beginning of the year, which is the lower bar line, and then the most recent assessment. What we want to see is our green expanding, and you could see that that expanded quite a bit. Our yellow bar is our students that are about 1 grade level below where they should be, and then our red are the students that are really struggling, either 2 or 3 grade levels below. Those are typically the students that get intervention services or special education services. And so our green, the super green on the left, is what we really want to see, because those are the kids that are flying. And so we started at only 35% proficiency, grew to 63%. Last year, we were at 60%, so we have seen an improvement since last year in the spring, and our red area shrunk by 12%. In the lead, Holloman School, Park School, Scott School, Warwick Neck, and Wyman for proficiency ratings. Pretty awesome. All right, let me continue on here. Another quadrant chart, you can see that we have 2 schools, one right there on the threshold. They were 100%, and so they did meet the mark. And then one school did not make where we want them to be, but every single other school in the district got into the areas that we want to see them. This is for mathematics, and I wanted to shout out again to Lippett, Norwood, and then Park and Greenwood for being the top 4 dots that we have there. They did a great job, and they just keep getting better, which is amazing. And then I'll show you another bar graph that gives you a really great visual as to how we improved in mathematics from the fall. We started at only 22% proficiency. We did start 2% higher than last year. We keep seeing this. We are improving every year, little by little. That adds up over time. We grew to 58% proficient. Last year we were at 57%, so again, we're higher, and our red area shrunk by 13%. In the lead, again, you keep hearing the same names for our schools: Park, Scott, Norwood, and Greenwood. Excellent job, everybody. The next area shows you the overall growth. The goal is 100% or better for progress towards growth. We are at 131% across the district, and this is just fantastic. And then that's just for reading. And every single school exceeded their growth targets. We're up 8% overall for reading. And math is up 1% overall, and all but one school met or exceeded the 100% goal. If we did take that one school out of the equation, you would see a number similar to our reading score for growth. So just keep that in mind, that the outliers sometimes can really skew the data. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Cousineau.
Thanks, Dr. Schultz. This is very exciting. So the graph you're seeing now is doing a comparison. Math will be on the left-hand side, reading will be on the right, and this is over a 3-year period. So again, as Dr. Schultz said, a little bit of growth every single year is making up the difference. We want, again, the green bars to grow, the yellow and red bars to shrink, and you can see that that is happening both in math and in reading. This is the same sort of chart. Again, the blue represent, this is just math. The blue bars are basically looking at growth. This is the number of minutes for their MyPath usage. In year one, we really focused on the number of minutes, and then we quickly realized it's not about the number of minutes they're on the computer, it's about the numbers of lessons passed. So while it does look at the number of minutes in a breakdown, that is helpful data, but we are looking for lessons passed, which is some of their summer assignments this summer, but you can see that all of the green bars exceed the blue bars in this area.
Please. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Cousineau. And so what you can see here is just like what Mrs. Cousineau said, our students who are only on MyPath, which if you don't know what MyPath is, it's personalized learning. It uses the most advanced technology to push students at their exact level where they need to be pushed. So if a student's at a second grade level, it'll push them just above that to keep it moving. If anyone knows a really cool psychological term, it's called the zone of proximal development, also known as ZPD. And if we get our students in that just right zone, then they can really grow and fly. And so what we're seeing is the more that they're on this platform practicing, the green numbers are the students that were on that platform at least 30 minutes a week. You can see how they grew more than their counterparts that were not on that exact same platform.
So Dr. Schultz, I have 2 questions for you to help
Yes,
us
please.
with. Our friends at home might ask. If my child is on this summer and they get stuck, what's going to happen?
If they get stuck, it's okay. That's a great question because this did come up a few times. We want our students to get stuck sometimes. It's okay. It's called productive struggle, and that's where we really learn and grow. It's okay to get frustrated sometimes. Have your student take a little break, but what the program is doing is it's challenging the students, and if they're stuck, that's a really good sign because that means that they're above grade level. And so the computer is trying to find their just right placement. It's going to give them some questions that are a little too hard, a little too easy until it maps it out exactly. It's adaptive.
That was the word I was looking for. And the second question is, there's 2 kinds of stuck, because there's productive struggle stuck, but there is really, what if there's a problem? What if they max out? What if this? What if that? So the parents have an outlet over the summer to be able to get some help if they get stuck in a different way. What do they do for that?
Well, if they get stuck and they don't really know what to do, if you mean like actually on the platform and can't really
There's
get
a
anywhere?
helpline, right?
Oh, there's a helpline.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I wasn't sure
Yeah,
where you were going.
okay.
Oh, yes. Please ask for help. We do it all the time.
Yeah, just put in a help ticket. Look at your summer learning document, and there's a help ticket for you. All right, we're going to keep going. All right, so this is, again, the same type of graph as the last one. These are the reading minutes. Again, it's about lessons passed, not just minutes, but again, the green bars are much higher than the blue bars.
All right, and just to sum up what we were saying and talking about, we're going to be looking ahead into next year. We're going to keep this amazing growth going, an amazing performance going. We saw scores rise on RICAS. There is a correlation between iReady and how we do on our state testing, so we want to continue with this. We're going to continue with the Student Discourse Initiative, getting our students into small groups, talking as much as possible. We want the focus to be on the student and teacher as facilitator. Yes?
I also want to give a little shout out to our teachers over at Scott School this year. They did student-led data chats. They did them in a couple of different ways, but parents got a chance to go in and actually hear from the student, and the student kind of walked them through their learning. So props to them and anyone else who gave it a try. We're really going to be promoting that next year.
Absolutely. We think it's really important for students to set their own goals, and we found that it raised our scores, as you can see, even more than last year by having students really pick what they think that they need to work on, things that they're proud of, that they do well in, and really focus on that and try to set a really targeted goal for themselves by the end of the year that they could meet or exceed in iReady. We also have MyPath Incentive, so that personalized learning platform that we were just talking about. The schools that really pushed it, we saw much greater gains. Obviously, we can shout out to Lippet because they did really wonderful things, going from bottom of the list to the top now. And so really incentivizing the use of that, in addition to great teaching strategies in the classroom.
And I think it goes to everyone's support. Our math interventionists and reading interventionists, our principals, the walkthroughs that we did together, our amazing teachers, our families who support us at home, and especially our students. Like Dr. Schultz said, we're really looking for the students to set their own path. The more they do, we have buy-in, and they're doing it for themselves and not just because the teacher tells them to do it.
Exactly, yes. All right, one more thing, we're working on common assessments too. At the middle level in high school, we're gonna keep pushing academics, and we have the summer assignments like Mrs. Cousineau talked about. It'll help support the work that the students are doing, and MyPath is open until August 7th for the students to work. If you want them to jump on there and just get a little personalized learning under their belts, it can't hurt. Make sure they're outside though playing too, because that's really important. All right, I think that's all we have.
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cousineau and Dr. Schultz. Are there any questions or comments from members of the committee?
No, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Testa.
The two of you, thank you so much for this. I emailed you as soon as we got this data the other day. And I just want, Mr. Gallagher, I want to say, for the public's edification, you put up the bar graphs, and I want to break it down a little further. So for reading, the amount of students who are mid or above grade level grew by 241%. The amount of students that are early on grade level grew by 20%. Students one grade level or below dropped by 42%. 2 grade levels or below dropped by 52%. And 3 or more grades below dropped by 36%. Those are remarkable numbers. They truly are. In math, those students mid or above grade level grew by 502%. It's 502%. It's a staggering number. We're not a small district with 3,000 kids. We're a district with 8,000 kids. The amount of students early on grade level grew by 56%. Students 1 grade level or below dropped by 46%. Students 2 grade levels or below dropped by 58%. And students 3 or more grade levels below dropped by 34%. And I could also go into the number of students that is, because that's what really matters. These are kids, right? So those numbers are absolutely staggering. I couldn't be more pleased. And you talked about the zone of ZPD, right? If anyone's ever read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, it's the flywheel effect, right? So once you focus on something and you get it moving, it's a flywheel that keeps going. And I think that's what the ZPD is, and I think that's where we are K through 8. So I'm incredibly excited to see how this translates from 9 to 12. Because when it translates to 9 to 12, we will finally be in that top 3 or 5 districts that I've been chiming about for 8 years. So I can't thank you enough. I'm immensely proud of the work that you and everyone else up and down the chain has done here, from the teachers to the parents as well, because I was a parent too, it's not easy. And I'm just incredibly proud of everything that's been done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Testa.
Just wanted to
Ms.
ask a
Hazelwood.
question. The MyPath, how many minutes per week? If they did the optimal amount, what are we asking?
That's a great question. It's between 30 and 49. Is that perfect? And so that's per week. And so in classes, we're asking, as part of the like station rotation model with small groups, if there's an independent workstation, you could have students on there, 15 minutes, 3 times a week. You know, some people would break it up into 10 minutes a day. You know, there's days you can skip it, days you can do more, but it really makes a difference.
It's, the
Yes.
growth is
Yes.
incredible.
I don't think we've ever
For
seen
very
growth like this.
small, you put in a little effort and you get a lot.
Absolutely.
So that is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hazelwood. I was laughing at her question regarding time because my middle one, when I wake up in the morning, sometimes it's like, well, I did 25 minutes, and my wife has to remind him it's total number of lessons right now. They have to do 1 to 2 lessons a week. So he's thinking, all right, I did my 25 because it's tracking up top. But when I was first elected to the school committee, Dr. Schultz was kind enough to sit down with us and walk us through iReady, myself, Ms. Hazelwood, and Ms. Kirby Chapman. And it was a great education for myself because you could see children coming out of the summer, there's that little bit of a lag there because they haven't been sharpening their tools all summer long. They've been out having fun like they should be, and it takes them a couple weeks to get in the swing of things, and then you could see the diagnostics just take off after that point. But now having them do 1 to 2 lessons throughout the summer each week, I'm excited to see. You know, I echo Mr. Testa's sentiments. I can't wait to see how we just keep going here now that we got the ball rolling. So nicely done. Congratulations to all of you, to the teachers, the administrators within the schools, the parents, and of course the children who are going out there and executing. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes, Ms. Danbrook. Superintendent Danbrook.
I think the progress that the students made is totally amazing, and I'm so proud of my central administrative team, all the work they've done, from choosing the green curriculum, you know, knowing the best curriculum and the resources for the students to achieve, to all the administrators, you know, who oversee in their buildings, using the program, the parents that monitor the use of the program, and the students who now are becoming proud of themselves, like they want to be in the green, and they push themselves. So I think we have an atmosphere now that we want to do our best, and that's important. And thank you so much. I'm so proud.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next up, Superintendent update, Superintendent Danbrook.
The first thing I wanted to announce is the free summer meals for kids and teens. So that began yesterday, July 8th, and it runs through August 23rd. The 2 Warwick locations are the baseball field across from Oakland Beach Elementary School, which is 383 Oakland Beach Avenue, and served Monday through Friday from 11:15 to 12. There's also a second location at the Connecticut Library at 55 Beach Avenue, and that's served Monday through Friday from 12:30 to 1:15. And just a reminder, the meals must be eaten on site. It's not a grab-and-go type of situation. I also want to, I know Dr. Schultz touched upon the summer assignments, but I do want to remind families that the summer assignments, we are strongly encouraging students to participate in individual learning opportunities to keep them engaged during the summer months. There is an outline of what students are asked to do over the summer for each grade level. The summer learning opportunities are for students in grades 1 through 12. They are posted on the Warwick School Department website. Please take advantage of these learning opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Danbrook. Any comments from members of the committee for the superintendent? Seeing none. Discussion update, FY24 monthly report and year-end review. Mr. Bolt.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, school committee members. I've provided everyone with the June 2024 monthly fiscal report. Just to call out some details, the fiscal year 25 budget has been added as a new column, and the June 30th, 2024 numbers will be updated each month as we continue to close the books for the year. The goal is to finalize our audit by the end of the year. So as we continue to close the books and refine and make journal entries throughout the next couple months, those numbers will be updated as well.
Thank you very much. I'm not even going to ask. Mr. Testa?
Thank you. Unpaid lunches, $301,651.30. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. Any questions or comments for Mr. Bolt? Seeing none. Item 4, discussion update, bond project status update.
Good evening, Chairman Galligan, school committee members, superintendent. Quick update on the projects that have started this summer. Oakland Beach project is running a little long due to electric equipment supply issues that have come up late. We are dealing with that, and it should not affect turnover. Cleaning is going on and should be completed by the end of July. Movers have been put on hold until July 17th, and they should be back then and be completed by the 23rd of July. The contractor should be completed with work by 7/31. There will be some punch list items going on until 8/9, so the school will be open, but it is run longer than we had hoped, but it will be open. Greenwood project has started in earnest. Demolition, electrical rough-in, steel work, duct work, roof penetrations are all well underway. At this point in time, we are on schedule. Areas will be turned over to the cleaning staff as soon as possible, and a plan will be reviewed with Mr. Oliver and his team this week to ensure that it will work for their team. Warwick Neck, the elevator shaft foundation is being constructed now. Masonry work on that will follow next week. Interior demolition is almost complete. Asbestos was uncovered in an unanticipated area in the bathrooms, and we are waiting for DOH, Department of Health approval, so it can be abated. This has caused a minor delay, but we should be able to adjust and make up that time. After the abatement, we'll complete the interior demo and move ahead with the bathroom ADA renovations. And at this point in time, we anticipate completing on schedule, and the elevator work in the shaft will continue into September as I previously reported. The green building, electrical and fire alarm work is well underway. Demolition in the rear half of the building is in good shape with plumbing rough following right behind it. We will start the bathroom work in the front half of the building as soon as the staff has moved to their new locations. With no serious delays, we anticipate completing on schedule. Holloman, still on schedule to start mid-August. And our favorite topic, playgrounds. Hoxie and Greenwood are open. Welk Playground is scheduled for completion, best case 7/31, worst case 8/9. Weather and pour-in-place rubber scheduling, they go hand in hand, so those are the variables. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Ms. Hazelwood.
Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing Oakland Beach complete.
Not as much as I am.
Yeah, so I would love to see it, once it's finished, have a nice tour, view the building, so I can put the community at ease, let them know.
We're looking to schedule something at the very last week of July, so you can get a clean walkthrough.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Hazelwood. Any other comments, questions? I've got one. The hurricane-rated windows, is that plan still at play where you would do a couple windows each night after the school year begins?
Right, that's still ready to go.
All right, cool.
One of the other things there is we will be putting in front of the building committee bookcases in the forum addition because we found some uncovered steel that we need to hide. So we'll put some bookcases there, and it gives some added storage space for the teachers and kids.
Great. Thank you. Item 5, discussion update, high school project update. Mr. Gothberg in left field.
All right, we'll have Mr. Chris Spiegel give his monthly report to the committee.
Good evening, Steve, members of the community. I'm happy to report that the project remains on budget and on schedule. I'd like to get that out of the way first thing. And I'm also happy to report that in less than a week, you will also start to see the first physical construction of the project take place. Starting on July 16th, we will be completing enabling work at both sites. This enabling work allows us to start construction in March. All of this enabling work is being done outside of the buildings with some minor interior touch-ups to the CTC building. All of this work, again, allows us to get in the ground in March when the project needs to get into the ground in order for us to keep meeting our schedule. So that's the first thing that you're going to see. We're also, I just want to say, we are still not complete with schematic design yet. So again, there are 3 checkpoints that the project must go through with the Rhode Island Department of Education. The first is schematic design, the second is design development, and the third is construction documentation. At each one of these checkpoints, we expect the project to change. And the reason for that being is based on feedback that we get from the school committee, that we get from stakeholders, from the school building committee, and from RIDE, who is reimbursing a significant amount of this project. They are all going to have feedback, and we need to incorporate that into the design. As the design currently is, we have not cut any educational program from the building, and that includes any sports programs. The educational program of what we are building is still aligns with what was approved by Rhode Island Department of Education, and that was presented to the voters. So that's an important part I want to make. We are still very, very early in this process. We have been tasked with delivering 2 high schools for a $280 million construction budget. It is a very difficult task, and there is a lot of hard work that remains. We feel very, very satisfied with the work that has happened with Dimeo so far to date. As I mentioned, we are on budget. We are within our contingencies at this point, and because we are within our contingencies, we are now in the process of looking at areas where we could potentially save money and bringing those to the school building committee for their review and approval prior to kicking them up to other stakeholder groups that have influence over that process. The other additional work, so we do have our first page turn with the Rhode Island Department of Education on schematic design. So that is still how early we are in this design process. We still haven't had a page turn with the Rhode Island Department of Education. That is scheduled for Thursday at 1:00 p.m. We don't expect there to be any significant pushback because, again, we have not cut any educational scope from the program. If we had cut any educational scope from the program, you would have heard it by now from the superintendent, from Dave Testa, from other members of the school building committee. So we are still moving forward with the current educational program, and that remains on budget at this time. Any other additional work? We continue to have our enabling work meetings, our presence on site, multiple meetings with Sicosio and Associates, as well as SOM Architecture. We're really, right now, we're working through problems. We continue to find site issues at Tollgate. As this committee is aware, there's a lot of ledge at Tollgate. In order to sink foundations and to make sure that the building has the structural support that's needed, we are trying to avoid as much ledge as possible. Perhaps that's where some of these rumors are coming from, is that we are shifting things around on the site so we don't have to dig into ledge. But I can tell you, as of right now, there are turf fields. There is a real football stadium. There is a softball field. There is a baseball field. There is a dedicated sports throwing area. There are tennis courts. The entire educational program, which includes sports, still remains on the site at this time. That's my report for this month. Happy to take any questions or dive into any specifics that you guys would like me to.
Any questions or comments from members of this committee for Mr. Spiegel?
I have a question.
Ms. Hazelwood.
Is it true that the gymnasium will only hold 750 students?
Well, we're still in schematic design, so that nothing has been decided yet about the number of students. We're currently looking right now at 750 versus 850 and what the cost differential of that is, but nothing has been decided or presented or even stamped on a drawing as to this point. We were told that 750 might be too small when we presented that the first time. So we've gone back to the drawing board, and now we're looking at how we can try to find saving space savings in other places.
What would you say the schematic design showed when we presented it to the public?
When you presented it prior
To the public to approve the bond?
the
what
amount
would
of
you
seats in the
say?
auditorium, the exact amount of seats in the auditorium?
The seats, the gymnasium, the size of the gymnasium.
Oh, the gymnasium.
Because
don't
that
know.
is also an educational place.
Do you remember? I don't remember the exact amount of seats that they had before. Was it 810?
I think we
Originally started. So they originally started at, I don't know the exact number. I have to do the research. Steve thinks it
So
could be
close to
1,000.
1,000, you said? Okay, because I think that the athletic facilities were very important when people were deciding on this bond. And I think the public will want to know these things while we're still in the design phase. Last month, I asked you if you would have the website running so that parents could see the progress, and I was told it would be ready this month. Is that still on schedule?
So we're told 6 to 8 weeks. So yes, it'll be done the website will be operational sometime at the end of this month and early next month. So 6 to 8 weeks from our last meeting.
All right. I would hope that we could have a forum soon and allow the public to come and know what we're doing in the effort of being transparent and keeping to our word with what we promised.
I would love that. Yeah, absolutely would love an opportunity to get in front of the public. It's actually probably my favorite part of the job. But before we
Good.
get to that point, we need to have a design that we have
Right.
shown to RIDE. And that's what I'm trying to say. Everything is still very much in flux at this point. So,
Right.
you
I
know,
just want it to be as close to what we promised when we had them approve the bond. They approved a certain school. They were looking for certain designs. It's the right thing to make sure they get what they're going to pay for. You know, and that is just something I'm going to add.
okay.
Okay, but thank you for bearing with me while I.
No.
Thank you
absolutely,
very
yeah.
much.
Listen, I've come before this committee multiple times, and I've said the same
And
thing. We're going to be having difficult conversations. We're just not even in a point where we've got a design to have those difficult conversations yet.
Right. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you, Ms. Hazelwood. With regard to the gymnasium, taking athletics out of this completely, the gymnasium being another classroom, right, for physical education, looking at the size of that space. I've heard we're only going to one gym and instead of two like we currently have, and I know the initial plans didn't technically have two gyms, but since we're losing a gym, and these are more comments than questions, I believe that it would just make more sense for that gym to be slightly larger in size. For the public, we only have $350 million for this bond, but as you mentioned, it's really $280 in construction costs.
That's correct.
So I was initially all gung-ho on the thought of a walking track within the school, and after several conversations with Mr. Testa, you realize you're going to have a second floor within that gym. It's got to be rated. It's got to be designed. Very, very expensive. But when I think about, with these rumors in the community, 750 seats or even 850 seats for a school with a current capacity of over 1,100 students, and that is the main physical education space during the winter months or when the weather is poor, I think we need to give a little bit more consideration to that space as you continue to work on your schematic design and make sure that it, at minimum, represents the current population, because we just had a physical education advisory committee, and so the goal would be to get more physical education. And then I would also comment, for me, it's not necessarily transparency, and I do intend on scheduling a special school committee meeting probably in the third week of August for the community, and you can give it a little bit more lower, like 10,000 feet versus these 30,000 foot level updates, because people in the community are curious. They're interested. Tonight we had someone during public comment speak to rumors. Those have been coming up for the last 2-3 weeks. You can't go anywhere. Cookouts, baseball games. People are excited. This is one of the biggest things to happen in this community in a long time. They want to know what's going on. There hasn't really been a massive update for the community, I would say, since probably 2022. Either the August events at Tollgate and Pilgrim, when the community was able to come out and they had various booths, or maybe was Crown following that? The Crown event was after that, November. So there really hasn't been a massive update from the school department since 2022. And so people are curious, and that curiosity, I'm going to apologize now for being a pain in your side, that curiosity is going to continue to amplify, especially when they start seeing you have trucks there and when you start digging. And so I think we've got to get before the public. If you could do me a favor as well, if you could maybe work with Mr. Gothberg. I'm going to be totally honest. When these rumors come up, if any of them are true, which it seems like the gymnasium was right around it to being valid, I'm in the dark.
Yeah.
I haven't a clue. And I know at the building committee meetings, you guys discuss, releasing of bids, spend, identifying which vendor is going to do what work, and general project management. But I know that you can't make all your decisions and design ideas in that meeting, because it could go on for hours. So you have your sidebars. And that's where we don't really know what's going on. And I am a bit sympathetic to a comment you made last month that you certainly don't want to put something out there because the plan's still evolving and changing. And so what's here today might be gone tomorrow, and you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. But I think if we bring the public along with us as you continue to go through that and say, hey, we had to add this or delete that, or we've made this modification, but for this reason, if we bring the public along, it will be more palatable as the project goes on and they realize, hey, you know what, they couldn't really afford that, but the educational spaces were still saved, or in this area of athletics, we still got this. So I'm just asking if you can kind of maybe, highlight, once a week or bi-weekly for the school committee what's going on, so that way we can stay in tune.
Yeah, so we send out a monthly project report. We'd be happy to forward that as well.
Please include us on that.
Yeah, so we do a monthly project report, which lets us know where we are on budget in terms of our design meetings and all these other sorts of things. So we'd be happy but I think I understand the point that you're getting at. In the absence of concrete information, people start, they start filling in the gaps. They start filling in the gaps with themselves. And I think there is a fine line between us presenting something and getting a lot of buy-in and fighting a lot of fights, and then 2 months later us saying, well, we had to switch because of budget or something like that. So you're right, it is a balancing act. But I think at this point, probably around mid-August, late August is probably a good time where we'll have enough of a schematic design set that we plan on submitting to RIDE, that it's a good place to get project feedback. And I also want to reiterate, that's a perfect time to give us feedback because we're going through our next checkpoint. Yeah, we have opportunities to change the design still. Changes in design, I've said this before, cost pennies. Changes in construction cost millions of dollars. So the more due diligence we do now,
that's right,
the better the project is. But I also want to reiterate, there are going to be difficult conversations. It's just part of this process.
I think we're prepared for that, and I think the public would be more understanding if they saw it as it went along. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that you're open to me working with Mr. Gothberg on selecting that date and your firm. I'd like to look at that third week of August so we can start to advertise it. We have one of the best publications out there, the Beacon, here tonight, so they'll certainly help us advertise that, and we can pack the house and so people can hear what's been going on, what are the next steps, here's what we're thinking right now for these schools. And if we can bring them along, you know, it'd be more palatable later on when we have those difficult conversations and we help them to understand why.
Okay, yeah, I think maybe not exactly I turned 40 that week, so I might be gone for a couple days.
Okay, that's fine.
But anytime after the 19th, sure.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just one more thing when
Ms.
he
Hazel.
wraps up. I just want to tell you, I am very grateful for these new schools. I worked in Pilgrim, and I know we need these high schools desperately. I'm proud that I'm on the school committee right now while it's happening, but I just want to make sure that we're as close to what we can be to what we portrayed, because I want it to be that close. But it was the right decision. The public made the right decision. I would get them out of there tomorrow if I could into a new building. It's all the right things.
So you touch it with a needle, and that is the reason that we haven't submitted a schematic design yet is because of all of the work we are doing to keep the program as much as possible as what you just mentioned, as what was presented.
Thank you so much for that.
And there we
Thank
have,
you.
I'd say probably what Stevie's probably doing 7 or 8 hours a week, and at least more than that in design meetings with the architect and with the construction manager. Every stone we're unturning every stone to try to figure out ways to make sure that we keep all of the educational program.
Thank you very much for your hard work, all of you, the whole
happy to do it.
building committee.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Testa.
Thank you. All I would say is, the word I'd use is patience. We just hired a contractor 2 months ago, right? Was it 2 months ago? 3 months ago. We hired you guys when? In March or April?
Yeah.
Right? So, patience, folks, right? And I think everybody knows, because we were very clear from the beginning that what we put out when we were going out to bond, and there would always be revisions to that design. Always. Always. And if anybody is going to argue otherwise, they're lying. We always knew there'd be revisions. You didn't know what the revisions would be. And we still don't know what all of those revisions would be, right? To your point, we're keeping all the educational programming that was hashed out in those visioning sessions from 2019. So I just say patience. We just got on board. It's not as if we're designing an addition to our houses. There's a lot more involved with this. And the intention all along always has been that there would be, I don't want to use the word transparency because that implies there wasn't going to be transparency, that there would be an openness here that people would see what's going on, right? And I think that sometimes you walk a fine line because you can put 100 people in a room and get 100 different ideas of what's going to happen, right? So I would just patience. We're going to end up with some pretty nice stuff when we're all done. And ultimately, it's going to be on budget because, as we've said countless times, there is not another dime. So, and I can tell you, this school committee member would never want to go to the city for more money, period. Never. So we have to do what we have to do for 350, and to Ms. Hazelwood's point, we're going to get as close to what we originally planned as possible, right? I just counsel a little patience, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, and we'll see you twice in August then. We'll see you for this regular school committee update, and then we'll also see you for the public engagement session. Steve, you and I will talk tomorrow about how we can get that set up.
One of the things I wanted to say was that we really need to get the first SD schematic design in front of RIDE before we move forward and show it to everyone, and that's really been the plan. So let us get to RIDE. The first page turn is Thursday, and that's for Pilgrim, and a little bit later we'll do Tollgate, and then at that point we'll be ready to bring it forward and show you at least some renditions about what we're thinking, but we want to get approved by RIDE, so we're not making starts and stops. So we appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Thank you. You took my rock wall away, Dave. Item 6, discussion action, recommended allocation of additional state aid. Mr. Bowl, I requested for the public's knowledge that this be added on. In April every year, the school committee passes its budget. It goes on to the city council. City Council then either chooses to adopt our budget, City Council and Mayor. City Council and Mayor either adopt our budget or they modify it, increasing it or decreasing it. Then it comes back to the school committee in June, where we then have to amend our budget, and then finally we await state aid. But we've already kind of amended our budget and passed it on, so really this body doesn't then have a say on whatever additional funds then come in. So that's why I said, you know what, let's close out the FY25 budget today with the recommended allocation of additional state aid. If there's any amendments that we'd like to make or additions, we can state those now, and then we'll call a vote on it. But first, Mr. Bull, if you'd like to make your recommendations.
Hello again. So our state aid came in about 1.35 million higher than our original estimate, but the school committee budget that was passed in June included $500,000 of that increase. So the state aid number that's currently unbudgeted for, the exact number is $863,924. So just call it $864,000. So I put together a couple of items that I think should be priorities here for the district. In the capital improvements and buildings budget that we set aside, so in that budget line, we set $250 aside for the renovations to the green space for RIAA moving into that building. That project is more likely to come in around $600,000. So my recommendation is to allocate $350K to capital improvements and buildings for that amount. There are also a number of improvements that are going to be needed at Vets Middle School, with the two high schools needing to share athletic space during construction. So right now, the city has been generous enough this past budget cycle to allocate some funds for the improvement of the track, which we are grateful for. But I think if we were to allocate $250,000 of this state aid to, again, the capital improvements and building budget to renovate the tennis courts, which are heavily used and in needs of repair. There's cracks that run straight through the middle of most of the courts. That's a rough estimate, but I think after just some high-level discussions with Mr. Gothberg, I think $250K is an appropriate number for those fixes to do it right and to have quality tennis courts, not just patching over the cement. The last recommendation I have is really just to allocate the remainder, so about $264,000 to our regular salaries line. Historically, we have not done a great job budgeting for salaries within the district. This is partially due to the budgeting software that we use not really being used in a way that I would like to see, like the precision, where we're not budgeting by position in the district, and we should be. So if a position is paid $90,000 and you get a step raise, the system should automatically be able to adjust that and project the budget for next year. Right now, we're really doing estimates in Microsoft Excel, saying, all right, this is what the salary base was last year, let's apply a percentage. But in fiscal year 22, we overspent the salary line by $1 million plus. In fiscal year 23, we overspent by about $1.5 million. Fiscal year 24, we've overspent the budget by even more than fiscal year 23. So think like in the range of $2 million. So I think we just need to do a better job of budgeting for salaries going forward. That's part of the new ERP system. We're going to have more precise budgeting with that, with respect to that line. But that's my recommendation for the remainder, is to put it toward salaries so that we at least reduce the overage there.
Thank you, Mr. Bowl. I'd like to make an amendment to Mr. Bowl's recommendation. So right now, the recommendation is $350,000 to capital improvement in buildings, $250,000 to Warwick Veterans Middle School for tennis courts, and $264,000 to the regular salaries line item. I'd like to amend putting the $350K that he suggested to capital improvement in buildings, putting the $250,000 to vets tennis courts as he suggested, instead of $264,000 to regular salaries, doing $200,000 to regular salaries, leaving a balance of $64,000 to go towards hiring a safety and security person for Windman Middle School. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Hazelwood. I'll second it. Any discussion? Mr. Testa.
Mr. Chair, I don't doubt the need for the position, but I think the way this should work is it should come up from administration. They should tell us, because you could conceivably budget this money now, and then if there is a crisis, and you just mentioned, wrong word, if there's an issue and you mentioned one, we're going to be scrambling. So at the end of the day, you guys in administration are responsible for the budget. You're responsible for telling us what you think you need and where you think it should go, right? I'm not saying we have to rubber stamp it, but I'm just concerned that we're gonna to find $64,000 in $100 and whatever $1 million budget we have shouldn't be a huge issue. So if you guys see the need for that, and I think somebody last month spelled out the need for it, and there probably is a need for it. I'm not so sure that we should be just earmarking that for that, because something can come up where you can't fill the position for a variety of reasons. So what are you going to come to us and ask for permission for that? That's entirely within your purview, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been wrong before. I just think that we should park the money, and then if we want administration to fill that position, then create it, and then just take the money out of it and fund the position. I don't think we have to stipulate to you, this is where you need to put it, and this is what you're going to spend it on. I think philosophical for me, that's all. I'm not saying that we don't need the position. I'm just saying that I'm not sure if this is the appropriate method for us to do that. So, thank you.
Any other comments? Ms. Kirkchap.
I guess I had asked you originally if we got the money, what would we do with it? And my question to you was, these elementary schools really, there's a lot of them that really need a lot of like help. Is that even in the picture anymore?
When you say help, what do you mean?
Like there's so much work that needs to be done on these elementary schools too. I mean, and we've been focusing on new high schools. We're doing a lot with vets and Windman. I mean, I feel like the elementary schools kind of get the shaft, or we're doing it a little bit at a time. Because again, how often are we going to get this extra money? Is there other stuff that we can also be doing that we've been kind of putting off because we haven't had the money, especially in elementary school buildings?
Yep, I think part of the prioritization here is it's focused on, so the green renovations are happening. That's a contract that's been signed. So if we're not to allocate the $350K to the green building, it's just going to go over budget. So to me, it's not a question. It's do you want to be over budget, or do you just want to allocate the funds accurately? In terms of the capital improvements to vets with respect to the tennis court, the track, I understand that it seems like we're focusing on one building, but that building is going to have a lot more traffic and a lot more capacity issues once the construction's going on at the two high schools. And so it's not to favor the middle school level over elementary schools. It's really just a matter of we're going to be playing high school sports on a middle school complex, and so we need to upgrade those facilities in order to make sure that that's
no, I know that's appropriate. I'm not really saying, but then, and I know we do have salaries, like I know the positions are going to come up, but I just want to know, is anyone in the administration keeping a focus on elementary schools as well?
Yeah, and I think through this past year,
and then building wise,
through this past year's budgeting process, if you compare the amount of money that was allocated to each elementary school compared to how much was allocated in the prior year budget, it's almost double across the board. So again, if you just go through this past year's budget, you look at Sherman, Lippett, Holloman, whatever their individual budget is, and compare it to last year's, you'll see a significant increase. Same thing with Welk. I'm trying to think, I think the final allocation was $65,000. In the prior year, I believe it was 20, maybe. So almost tripled the budget compared to last year. So those things are definitely being considered. I wouldn't say that they're being neglected in any way.
Right, but we also are having kids coming back and we might experience 90-degree weather and some windows don't even open.
So my only 2 cents there would just be, this is I think one of the first budget cycles where we've actually allocated funds to capital improvements, which is very difficult to do through the general fund. That's why we go out to bond for certain projects, because we literally need to borrow money from the taxpayers in order to pay for more expensive things. So it is, while I understand the buildings are old and there's issues with them, it's very difficult to find $1 million somewhere. It's impossible to find $1 million somewhere to improve a building. So the fact that we do have this state aid allows us to do something small, like some tennis courts, but not much more above that.
Anything? Could I, right before you go, Ms. Hazelwood, to address my colleagues' concerns to my right, I'm going to withdraw my motion because it seems like it's more fiscal management driven, his concerns, and how you move the money around. And I'm going to make a motion that we amend your recommendations on what the money would be used for, and that amendment be capital improvement in buildings, Warwick Veterans Middle School tennis courts, regular salaries line item, and the hiring of a safety and security person for Windman Middle School. I make that motion.
So moved.
There's a second by Ms. Hazelwood, and for discussion, I just would add the National Association of School Resource Officers say there should be one resource officer per 1,000 students. There's a law enforcement officer shortage here in Warwick. Last year at this very time, was popping champagne celebrating that all of our secondary schools were going to have an SRO. We lost the SRO at the very end there for Windman. The plan was, well, Windman and Tollgate, they're so close to each other that they'll just cover both schools. Well, yes, but we're using just the numbers for Tollgate today of, we'll use flat 1,200 and let's use a flat 800 for Windman. Okay, that's 2,000 plus you've got Tollgate, the Career and Tech Center, and Women. So that's a very large campus for one individual and 2,000 students. So if we can't get a law enforcement officer there, which it's a struggle right now, we need to have a dedicated person there. I think it's a cheap ask. I think if we can't find the money to get someone in that school, we have bigger problems, and this entire team should convene real quickly. So that's my comments on that, but my amendment would include those 4 items. Any other discussion, Ms. Hazel?
I was just going to say, Mr. McCaffrey and I have had a lot of conversations about getting an SRO over there, and you have tried a lot, and I appreciate all your effort. I know it isn't because of a lack of effort on your part. You have worked a lot on this. They just don't have the manpower to spare. So because of that, if we could, and I know we don't want any more crisis at our schools. We don't want to have something happen that, could happen going forward. I don't know what else to do, because if we can't get an officer there, we have to take interventions into our own hands. And I know you have wanted that right along. So
I think there's a really great cop that just retired, just
Ms.
saying.
Kurbachev.
Sorry. Just putting it out there. Maybe Mark's available.
Sergeant Consoldi.
He didn't know what he wanted to do.
Mr. Testa.
Mr. Thank you. And again, I don't want to be misconstrued. I'm not against this position.
Of course not.
And I think that administration knows the need. I don't think administration for a second has not tried hard to do that. I agree with all of that. I just think I trust them enough to see the need and just say, okay, we're going to go out and find this, and we're going to find the money for it and bring it to us. I don't think we have to tell them that that's what they have to do, which I think is what we're doing. I just, you know, I view it differently, and I've always viewed it that way. I think I've always trusted administration to do the right thing here. I think you always want to do the right thing, and I think you will do the right thing. I just don't think it's up to us to tell you, make sure you hire somebody for safety like we have it at Pilgrim and in Tollgate. I don't think we have to tell you to do that. I think you already know to do that. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment to the motion on the amendment for recommended allocation of additional state aid. Oh, God. Ms. Tedeschi, you got that, right? Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
We'll call the roll. Ms. Tedeschi, you ready? 3-1. Motion passes. Item 7, discussion action, transportation contract. At the request of the administration, this matter is going to be tabled this evening. Some language for the public's information is still being tied up with the contract, but they're getting very close. Item 8, discussion action, wise termination. Ms. Ruggieri.
Good evening. We seek favorable action for the recommendation made to you in executive session for the WISE member.
Thank you.
I move we uphold the administration's recommendation.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry. I was going to
Discussion.
ask if there's any discussion, but we can't. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
I abstain.
3-0, 1 abstain. Next item, discussion action, WTU litigation. Ms. Ruggieri.
Are we tabling this?
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we table items 9 and 10.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 11, discussion action, administrator degree stipends. Ms. Ruggieri.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I put before you tonight a proposal to equalize the doctorate degree stipend for our administrators to match the WTU. Mr. Testa, you may remember, having been on the prior committee, we did come before you in 2021 to right-size the longevity to match WTU. For some reason, I believe it was in 2008, there was a change and administration stalled and just stayed where they were. And as WTU continued to get their increases, what would happen is we get people who were teachers become administrators, and then they lose, their amount for longevity or their degree stipend. I do have an error in my memo in the text, and thank you to Mr. Galligan for bringing this to my attention. I did say that I was asking for master's plus 30 and a doctorate to match. However, since administrative positions require a master's degree in most cases, and historically it has just been the doctorate that administrators get the stipend for, I corrected it in the chart, but I didn't correct it in the narrative. So I am only asking for the doctoral stipend. And as you see, WTU stipend is $47.69 for a doctorate, and administrators are getting $11.74. And we all know the work that is involved, the time, the money, the time away from families, and that doesn't even mention the level of vigor that we want our administrators to have, right? So we want to be promoting people to further their education. So currently, right now, we have 4 administrators that this would impact. Obviously, as new people came in that had them, it would go. There is currently a system in place. They use the same form that WTU uses to request these degree stipends and the longevity. So we're just asking to equalize this doctorate stipend for our administrators.
Looking for a motion to adopt the recommendation.
So moved.
Made by Ms. Hazelwood, seconded by Mr. Testa. Any
Second.
discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would just...
Discussion too after
I'm
you.
sorry, go.
Do you want to go first?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to say I work with all of you at one capacity or another, and they are the hardest working bunch of people right in front of me. You're worth it. You deserve to have that stipend.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may, thank you.
Mr. Testa.
Mr. Jerry, yeah, I remember that, and, you know, the value of a doctorate shouldn't be different because you're part of a collective bargaining unit or not. The value, this district should value a doctorate the same. So I have no problem with this. It's kind of an equity issue to me. And you know, it's not just in Warwick, but sometimes if you're a senior teacher and want to go into administration, sometimes it doesn't pay. You're better off to be a teacher because, you know,
Quite frankly, we run into that
the
all
bump
time.
doesn't come up. You
Yes.
work longer. You work more days. So, you know, if this shouldn't, if someone wants to become an administrator, then, you know, why would I make that move if I'm going to? So I fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to belabor this item. I fully support it. Makes total sense. Congratulations to those 4 administrators for achieving your doctorates. And with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Jerry. Item number 12, discussion action, request approval, additional classroom teacher, grade 2, Ms. Kusno.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the school committee. I come before you tonight to ask for a non-budgeted item. As you know, we can only have 26 students in a class for grades 1 through 5. Right now, Sherman Elementary School has 55 second graders, which is quote-unquote illegal. So I am asking for a second grade classroom for Sherman Elementary School.
Move approval.
Motion made by Mr. Testa,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion?
Madam Chair. Mr. Chair, if I may, sorry. Sorry. Mrs. Cousineau, thank you. And I just, you know, I think the public needs to know. I mean, it's a good problem to have. We have more kids, right? It's a very good problem to have. And you know, we don't want to put 30 kids in a classroom. When I was a kid, that's what you did. So we don't do that. So I would support this all the time because you guys see the need for it. So
Thank you. And in complete transparency, we added some SES programs to Sherman School this past school year. Those are socially emotional classrooms, and it's best if those students can be in with their regular modeled peers. So because we want equity across the board for all of our students, that increases our numbers, and so this would alleviate that problem. I'm hoping to come back to you with the same problem again in a couple other places, but for now, it's grade 2 at Sherman.
All set? And so there'll be 2 grade 2s?
Three. There are already currently 2. I have 52 slots already taken, and now I have an additional 3, so I now have 55. We've sent all the waivers back, so they're really all just Sherman students.
Right.
So our hands are tied.
Excellent. Okay. Any other comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item 13, discussion action, bid award, Environ Energy Services, bid number 24-0019. Mr. Bowl.
So this is a bid for energy procurement services. So we basically go out, get a broker, that broker reaches out to energy suppliers and prices out energy contracts so that we can get electricity as a district. They take a fee out of they basically net their fee out of the electric bills every month. It's a very small expense. Annually, it'll be about $8,000 to $9,000. And we put the RFP out, we scored the proposals and went with Environ Energy Services, who put together a very good proposal.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to adopt.
move approval.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any comments from members of the committee? Mr.
Chair,
Testa.
thank you. Mr. Bowl, quick question. So you said that their commission gets taken out from the month. So what's a typical commission in something like this?
Less than 1%. of our total energy spend. So, it's less than a penny per kilowatt hour.
Kilowatt hour?
Yeah. So again, at the end of the year, when you multiply that rate by the number of kilowatt hours the district uses, it comes out to like $8,000 or $9,000 a year.
And then they would go source the power from
All the large
solar
suppliers.
farms, wind farms, and that's been very beneficial to us over the years.
Yes, and they're also well versed in the green energy credits that we do have as a district and how to manage those, and so we're leaning on them for that consulting as well, because there are issues around timing of using those credits and whether or not you have too many. So they'll be helpful in that respect as well.
Thank you.
Any other comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 14, discussion action, bid release authorization bid number 24-0021, Mr. Gothberg and Mr. Oliver.
Mr. Oliver's on this because it's coming out of his budget. His capital reserve budget. Typically, when we do a bid release, we go in front of the building committee, but since this is operating budget, we're coming in front of the school committee. So there is an error. We have dates on the bid release form that are not accurate. There should have been no dates. This was supposed to be a sample, so you could see what the bid was like. There are no dates. It has not gone out to bid. We have not done anything with it until you approve it. So we are going out to bid for the two kilns, two kiln rooms, one at Vets, one at Windman Middle School. At Windman, we're going to need to take over the whole storage room between the art rooms, and we were able to get two kilns in that room. One of the considerations that I did not believe we had to do, but we did was ADA accessibility to the kiln rooms. So we were able to get two at Windman, but we have to take over the whole storage room. We get one at Vets because there's just no way to fit more than one in there and have ADA accessibility. So we're going out to bid with those plans, and we are asking for your approval to release the bid.
Looking for a motion to approve?
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Agenda item 15, discussion action, contract award, Secoccio and Associates, number 19818, Mr. Gothberg and Mr. Oliver.
This is under our district contract with Secoccio. It's $29,000 for the design of the kilns rooms. A little more than I thought, about $4,000, but their consultants wanted more. There's a little more work involved. And it's misrepresented on the document, but it's reimbursable expenses plus 8%, not 8% reimbursable expenses. So I just wanted to clarify that. So 29, we seek your approval for the $29,000 for the design of the kiln rooms.
Mr. Gothberg, can you just say that again about the reimbursable expenses? I didn't catch that.
It reads that it's 8%, I believe it reads it's $29,000 and 8% for reimbursables. But what it is reimbursables at cost plus 8%. So that's what we have to print anything, and generally it's they print a set of stamp plans for the permit.
Looking for a motion to approve? Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any comments? I guess the only comment I have is all the business we give them and they can't comp us printing?
Nope.
Really?
I've had the argument, and I failed.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 16 has been tabled at the request of the administration, so I make the motion to table.
Thank you.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 16 is tabled. Item 17, discussion action, contract award, Amazon SP 240162. Ms. Barber.
Good evening. I'm requesting approval for Amazon purchases, which include new furniture, equipment, technology, and supplies for new classrooms and existing classrooms within the special ed department. These purchases are 100% grant funded.
For a motion to approve?
So moved.
Made by Ms. Hazelwood.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. Any comments? I have one. Has Warwick Neck Elementary School received all of their supplies which were damaged by the fire in the IES classroom?
I sent an email today. I met with Patty Cousineau and sent an email to Nina. She's going to be giving me an update in my
Great.
office. So
Do you feel very confident that we're going to have everything handled before first day of school?
I do. I do.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item number 18, discussion action, contract award, RIAS dues 2024-2025, number 19728, Ms. Stanbrook.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the school committee, requesting your approval for the Rhode Island Association of School Committee dues for the 24-25 school year in the amount of $15,000, and this is a budgeted expense.
Thank you, Ms. Stanbrook. Looking for a motion to approve.
Move approval.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any comments? My only comment would be I would think that if you have a member on your committee who is the president of RIAS, you would also get that at a lower cost.
Yeah, not anymore, though, so.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 19, discussion action, contract award, NESDC 2025. Affiliation fee number 19733, Ms. Stanbrook.
Yes, I'm requesting that we continue our affiliation with NESDEC. NESDEC includes 10-year enrollment projections, annual special ed trend reports, advertising of administrative vacancies, and subscriptions to professional development magazines and books.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve?
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 20, discussion action, contract award, Rhode Island Student Assistant Services, number 19706, Mr. McCaffrey.
Requesting your approval for contracted services for student assistants, counselors at four secondary schools. Requesting your approval.
Looking for a motion to approve?
So moved.
Oops, second.
Made by Ms. Hazelwood, seconded by Mr. Testa. Any comments?
Quick question for
Mr.
Mr.
Testa.
Testa. Thank you. Mr. Crabtree, this is a requirement, right? We have to
Yes.
provide this. Right, thank you.
Any other comments?
Just that
Ms. Hazelwood.
it is very important at the high school level. They work with the students, and it's so helpful.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 21, discussion action, contract award, Smart Pass LLC, number 19538. Mr. McCaffrey.
Requesting your approval for Smart Pass LLC. It's a digital whole pass tool that helps the flow of the students, aids in safety during emergencies, and reduces behavior incidences and more. Requesting
Move
your approval.
Move approval.
Motion made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. See, gave him $4,000 more on that one. That's good. There's a heart in there. Item number 22, discussion action, contract award, Turnitin LLC, number 19401. Mr. McCaffrey.
Once again, I'm requesting your approval for Turnitin.com. It's a tool that's utilized by the English departments and also other departments in the secondary schools to make sure that students are submitting their work and only their work.
Move approval.
Very valuable.
Motion made for approval by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Mr. McCaffrey, and I think Dr. Taylor may have something for both of you. Mr. McCaffrey, is this for both middle and high?
Yes.
Okay. And I think this next question probably goes to you, Dr. Taylor. And I think Ms. Netco mentioned it in public comment. With the advent of AI and generative AI, is this going to, in some way, make Turnitin obsolete? Or because I think Turnitin maybe become obsolete by its own, because I know if you're a teacher, you know, if you're an English teacher, you know your student, you know how they write. If they turn something in that's just out of character, right? So I'm asking because, of course, I'll support turn it in, but going forward, is this the tool we should be looking at, or with AI, and particularly generative AI, which can be frightening, what kind of larger strategy do we have to do that? Because, you know, AI in English might be one thing, but AI in math, who's going to know? Or science, who would know, right? Unless you know the student's not capable of that level, and all of a sudden, you know, they fail all the regular work and they ace the quiz or the test, right? So, and I think also in English that some teachers are relegating the kids to handwriting essays again, right? The old days are coming back. So I just don't know. It's a long-winded question. I apologize, but so.
Yes, and that's a good question. Turnitin has been working on their AI detector capabilities, probably more in line with ELA than mathematics, to your point. It tries to generate algorithms, from my understanding, from what I've seen, tries to generate algorithms that detect how the chat engine, like ChatGPT, how the AI platforms tend to write things. So that's the approach that Turnitin is working on. But it's constantly a battle. It's almost synonymous to the battle between hackers and cybersecurity experts, and trying to figure out, you know, each day somebody's inching out the other. So Turnitin is a good product right now because they are making moves towards the AI piece.
So it's conceivable that we could be having two systems, one Turnitin for the ELA, but we might need something else for, you know, the more the mathematical courses, and I'm sure Google must offer things too, right, through their whole system.
Sure, and I think too, you know, what many districts do, what many organizations do, is work with stakeholders, in our case, students, and to how to embrace and use AI. AI is not necessarily a bad thing, but also it's important that as anybody uses AI, if I were to type something into AI to use it to generate an idea, it's important to verify that, because oftentimes AI will take you down a path that's wrong. You know, I've placed for fun math problems, my background mathematics, into AI, and they actually take you to the wrong answer. And then you have to, you know, so you very much need to make sure that even if you use it, you got to check and make sure that it knows what it's doing. It's not foolproof.
Okay.
I noticed that quite a few times in just playing around.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 23, discussion action, contract award, first student, bid 19790 and 19789. Mr. McCaffrey.
Mr. Chair, I'd ask that you table that at this time.
I'll make the motion to table item number 23.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Tabled. Item number 24, discussion action, contract award, Rhode Island Department of Education, number 19793. Mr. McCaffrey.
I'd ask that you table this one at this time as well.
Motion to table item number 24.
So moved.
Seconded by Mr. Testa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 24 has been tabled. Item number 25, discussion action, contract award, Santa Buckley, 19787. Mr. McCaffrey.
Recommending your approval on this, on the purchase of fuel for the large buses and for the large and small buses for the district, as outlined by the memo from Colin McGovern.
Move approval.
Motion made by Mr. Testa, seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I appreciate Carla and yours clarification earlier as well on the spend for that, Mr. McCaffrey. Item number 26, discussion action, contract award, Tyler Technology, 19794. Mr. McCaffrey.
Requesting your approval on the purchase of the Tyler Technology. This is a routing system that helps support the staff in the transportation office.
Move approval.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 27, discussion and action, contract award, City of Warwick, Department of Public Works, number 19785, Mr. McCaffrey. Yes.
Once again, I'm requesting your approval on requisition 19785.
Move approval.
Regarding gasoline for small buses and vans.
Motion made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion?
Just a quick question. Mr. McCaffrey, the city still charges us, was it a nickel a gallon or 10 cents a gallon?
It's very minimal. I don't think they make anything on it. They have to.
No, I always knew that they didn't charge us what they paid for it. I think they always got a little bit.
But I think what it would cost for them to process the paperwork and things of that nature, it's insignificant and probably a loss for them.
2024 technology drives those costs down. Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 28, discussion action, contract award, New England Association of Schools and Colleges, number 19795, Mr. McCaffrey.
Requesting your approval for annual renewals for the secondary schools. This is a budgeted expense.
Move approval.
Made by Mr. Testa. I'll second.
Oh, sorry.
Seconded also by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 29, discussion action, contract award, Amazon, number 19812, Mr. Heatherton.
Good evening. The Grants Department is requesting an approval of $20,000 as an open purchase order for Amazon for purchasing textbooks for non-public Warwick resident students, and this is required by Rhode Island state law. This is a budget expense.
Move approval.
Motion made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 30, discussion action, contract award, Driscoll Elevator, number 19803, Mr. Oliver.
Good evening. I'm requesting your approval on this contract. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I just wanted to let you know this is the last year of a 3-year contract with Driscoll Elevator.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver. Looking for a motion to approve?
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 31, discussion action, contract award, City of Warwick, DPW. Item number 19740, Mr. Oliver.
Requesting your approval on this contract. This is for the purchase of fuel for all of our vehicles and equipment.
Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved. Oh, second.
Made by Ms. Hazelwood, seconded by Mr. Testa. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
If there's no objection from my colleagues, I'm looking to take items 32 down to 52, all from Dr. Schultz as one packet. Certainly, we can pull one or two out if you have any comments on any particular ones, but you guys good with taking one vote on those 20 items?
I'm fine with that. I would just have a couple of questions for Dr. Schultz, so I can take the whole thing in mass is fine with me, and then if it's seconded for discussion, I'll just ask the questions.
All right, looking for a motion to adopt items 32 through 52.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any comments?
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if I may?
Mr. Testa.
Dr. Schultz, let me just see here.
Another good one from me, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know.
Worked so hard to be ready.
No, that's that one's, that's fine. I want to go to GEMSnet.
Yes.
I'm looking at that, and are we extending that to middle school now?
Yes, we are. It's very exciting. I'm so glad that it was approved, that we can do that for our middle school teachers and students, because GEMSnet offers some of the best professional development I've ever seen. Everything's hands-on. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I remember when we brought it in. Good. All right, that's good. And I think I just have one more, and that is the number 19679 McGraw-Hill. It's Alex or Alex Project Management.
Alex. Mm-hmm.
And that's a cost sharing with other districts. So the question, what is Alex?
Oh, that's a great question. Everything that I talked about today about My Path, the personalized learning for iReady. It's very similar, but this is for our students that are in honors, the algebra sequence in middle school, and then for all of our high school students. So now they have access to a personalized platform as well.
Okay, and since it's a cost-sharing thing to pay Ms. Nicoletti, are we still getting the same level of service? With
Absolutely,
this agreement?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then lastly, I would just say, all these curriculum-related things, this is $1.2 million, almost
Yes.
$1.3 million. So, you know, it's a lot of people like to say, well, you spend so much money. Education's expensive. I don't care how you look at it, right? And this is curriculum, and this is what raises scores, right?
We only want the best for our
Updating this.
students, so
Right.
that's why it's pricey.
Right, because I mean, I've been around long enough to know and experience the years where curriculums weren't really updated, and we were not teaching the kids what we were testing them on. And we wondered why we ended up where we were, so thank you.
Thank
That's all I
you.
have.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. Any other comments from members of the committee?
What's that?
For the committee's benefit, requisition 19627 GEMSNet, the requisition is for $294,699. The invoice is for $302,769. Excuse me. So the requisition is 302,769, and the front memo page is corrected 294,699.66.
We'll make sure to correct that if it's approved.
It looks like it's the discount that wasn't put on the record.
Yes, we'll make sure to apply the discount.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then,
Take that discount.
Ms. Maloney put in work.
Yes, she did. We love Carol. She works really hard.
Yeah, the only other two comments I would add are the great savings that you had on the Wilson language. Appreciate you coming under budget on that. Thank you. And then also on the Gateway Education Holdings LLC, that's requisition 19709. You came in under budget on that, so I like that. Any other comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor to adopt items 32 through 52?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
If there's no objection from my colleagues, item number 53, discussion action, curriculum approval, looking to take all those. That would be A, Calculus 1 curriculum, B, cultural literacy through the looking glass, C, ELA grade 12, literature and medicine, D, ELA grade 12, science fiction and dystopia, E, discrete mathematics curriculum, sounds great, F, film and literature curriculum, G, intermediate math curriculum, H, mass media curriculum, I, statistics and probability math curriculum, J, theater workshop curriculum, and K, topics of mathematics curriculum.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. Any comments or discussion for members of the committee?
Just that
Ms. Hazelwood.
discrete math is a great class. The kids love it, even the kids who struggle with mathematics. This is user-friendly math, and they can apply it to life, so I'm happy to see this.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hazelwood. Any other comments? Seeing none, we're now at our second public comment portion of the evening. Public comment for individuals will be respectfully limited to 3 minutes per person, with public comment not to exceed 45 minutes. Though the content of comments will not be restricted, it is the hope of this committee that citizens, committee members, and the administration alike will be respectful of each other's rights to speak, tolerant of different points of view, and mindful of everyone's time. This public comment period is for general comments or concerns. Speakers are asked to state their name for the record.
Hello, Darlene Netco. One comment about the gyms. We do need at least a couple times a year the capacity to put the entire population in there for pep rallies. So we'll, obviously, people would want to be able to do that, but I think sitting on the gym floor might count too, so you might not actually need seats for that. But we do need to be able to put the entire population into the gym at one point, even sometimes for assemblies or presentations, because the auditoriums, I know, won't be able to seat every student in the school. They don't now. You can't put every student in the Tollgate auditorium at one time. At least it's better than the old days before Tollgate had an auditorium. Tollgate didn't have an auditorium till about the year 2000. Prior to that, the entire population of Tollgate would have to walk over and use the Windman Auditorium. So any auditorium at all is a plus. And the ledge has been a problem since, they first started building on that property 50 years ago, over 50 years ago now. The reason why Tollgate didn't have an auditorium or a sane main office, I think, has to do with the ledge. And we do need some kind of safety officer at Windman, obviously. And I think last month the administration did acknowledge that there needs to be a safety officer in place at Windman, and that I think, if I recall last month, somebody did say that the plan for the fall was to have a safety officer there. So that will go very far to alleviate some concerns of the teachers at Windman. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Necco. Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment? Any other members of the public wishing to comment? Any other members of the public wishing to comment? Seeing none, future meetings. The policy subcommittee will be meeting on July 16th. This is a recently scheduled meeting, July 16th at 10 a.m. The next fiscal subcommittee meeting will occur August 6th, 2024 at 3 p.m., followed by the policy subcommittee on August 6th, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. The next Warwick School Building Committee meeting is August 7th, 2024 at 7:30 a.m. The next monthly school committee meeting is August 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. And the next Health and Wellness Subcommittee meeting is August 28th, 2024 at 3 p.m. I do apologize. One of my colleagues couldn't be here this evening. She is ill, but she did send her very best to everyone. So wishing her well. And there is a building committee meeting for the month of July at 7 a.m., 7:30. Thank you. Okay. And the policy is on August 6th. The policy subcommittee meeting on August 6th is at 10 a.m. With no other matters before this body, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hazelwood. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. We are now adjourned.